Hey friends. So yesterday, um, we went out as a family to a place called Jemez Falls. It's out in the Jemez Mountains, which are sort of northwest of Albuquerque. Drove out, and we were planning to maybe walk around and go to some hot springs or check out the falls. And we got there, and the falls were quite close. It was only about half a mile walk up this trail, so we did that. And we had planned to run into my sister, who was there, and we sort of very serendipitously met her. Her dog walked across a rock outcrop, like way down below us, and so I watched for her, and sure enough, she showed up. And she came up and helped us navigate a pretty pretty challenging trail down to the bottom of this waterfall, where you could swim in the pool, like that the waterfall's falling into, and there was like the pool sort of like had a little area where it was running down the mountain as a stream, but it also pooled up into this cave so you could swim into the cave. It was like a little paradise cove. But before we got there, we had to navigate this trail of, by and large, pretty navigable, walkable, hikeable stuff. But then there were 2 or 3 sections where we really kind of had to. You was climbing. You were scrambling down a rock face. And Annalise, my daughter, was with us. She'd never done anything like this. And we'd never tried anything like this with her. And I think we wouldn't have done it unless my sister had sort of been there to be like, you can do this, it's not that hard, watch, and just kind of scrambled down these rock faces. But we did it, and Annalise really paid attention, and she climbed. Either on the second one, I pretty much picked her up and carried her down, and there was a moment there where I was like, is this smart? Should I be doing this? But there was also a sense of, well, first of all, it wasn't that crazy. And second of all, there was a sense that this is just a challenge. This is something that actually Annalise is ready for. She's ready to use her body in this way. Well, we did this. We got down, got to the cove, and then, and even on the way down, Annalise was climbing in a new way. I'd never seen her use her feet so consciously. So this is somebody who I've watched routinely trip over like slight deviations in the height of sidewalk tiles. She's like really navigating and being careful and putting testing her footholds and essentially climbing. We get down, we go to Paradise Cove, and it was amazing. It was just, we had a little lunch, we jumped in the water. Water's freezing cold, but it was beautiful, and you can go under the waterfall and have it just like envelop you. We swam into the little cave area. Annalise was having the time of her life, even though the water is freezing cold. I mean, it's essentially snow melt, so it's cold water. And we get out. We go swimming a couple times, and then get out, and then go make our way back. And Annalise just devoured the trail. She was climbing like a mountain climber. She was scrambling up the rock face that I'd had to carry her down the first time. She climbed up entirely by herself. Both of them. She climbed the entire trail by herself. There might have been one moment when I had to lift her because there was a reach that her body wouldn't do. But she climbed. She rock climbed. And then we got to the top, and then she didn't want to stop. Then we were like, there were these big kind of outcropping bouldery things up top, and she just would go over to every single one and say, I wish I could climb that. And we'd say, okay, go ahead, try it. And she would go, okay, and she'd start. And she just like was calculating her footholds. She's doing things where she's like sort of like moving along the edges of the thing, like using her feet and her hands to skirt the side of a boulder so she can get up to the top, up to a place where she can then climb up to the top. It was like we unleashed something. And she couldn't stop talking about it. She was talking, she all she wanted to talk about was rock climbing and climbing more rocks and finding more rocks to climb. And it was, I had never seen, and so then I noticed something in myself. On the trail from the car down to where the sort of like descent trail was, so like the first half mile or so, it's just a trail through the woods with some places where it's a little steep or a little slippery because it's kind of sandy or loose gravel or whatever. And on the way down, I was really mindful of her. I felt like I had to watch, when like a slight slope would happen and there would be like potential for some slippery gravel or something, I would want to take her hand. I just was like I felt like I was hovering because I'd seen her fall a lot, and I've seen her, she's still growing into that body awareness of where do I put my feet, how much weight will this surface take, etc. By the time we were coming back and she had done her whole like rock scrambling, rock climbing, she'd like taken this literal leap. I didn't even pay attention as she was walking back on the trail. It was like my own sense of what her capacity was had completely changed. Like I did not need to manage this. She was fine. And it was true. She took my hand one or two times, but she was just doing it herself and paying attention. I was watching her feet. She was being much more careful with her feet. It was like a growth spurt in consciousness that happened in an hour, or like not even an hour, just the amount of time it took to climb that rock face. It was staggering. And I also feel like we've unleashed something now. Now she's just every time, we're going to find rock faces. We're going to be looking for rocks for a while now. That's going to be our new fixation. But what struck me more than anything was just how much I watched her change. It was like by having the challenge of having to take really conscious control of her body and do something that required a certain amount of awareness, a certain amount of control, a certain amount of attention. It was like it lifted her to that place. She just went there. I didn't know she could do it. My sister was coaching her on the way down, saying, now, Annalise, put your foot, when you put your foot on a surface, you want to make sure you put some pressure and test it before you put your weight on it. You want to always be kind of consciously feeling whether where you're putting your feet can actually hold your weight. And as I heard her say that, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like, I don't know. My parenting thought was like, I think fear-based thought was like, I don't know if she can do that. I've never seen her do that. I've never seen her do something that deliberate, where she's climbing that deliberately, or especially with the stakes being, I mean, I was right there to catch her, but it was like, if she slips, this is not gonna be good. But sure enough, she started, and she started doing it, and then it was like her own success just catapulted her. She was like watching. It was like watching a consciousness bubble grow in front of my eyes. So exciting. And I think that obviously has stuck with me. It's obviously kind of remained percolating in my awareness until today. And I think it's a nice thing to see. It's a nice model to have for my own growth and for an understanding of how growth happens in the world in general. Because on some level, when our consciousness is about to expand, of course we have to enter the unknown. Of course the steps we take, we're not going to know where we can put our feet or how much weight we can put on them. How much will those steps support us? Are we taking the right steps? Are we navigating the terrain well? We can get help. We can get advice. We can get, good feedback, but we can't know. But seeing the sort of full result happen so quickly, and seeing the enthusiasm, the rush of enthusiasm, and the rush of confidence that just lit her up is a real inspiration to me. And it makes me ask the question, like, where in my life am I not sure? Where am I taking steps that I'm not sure of? Where am I not taking steps that I'm afraid of, and could potentially start climbing down a rock face, or up a rock face, and see where it goes, but I'm tentative. I'm not doing it. I'm not just leaping into the experience. It makes me go, because if that's the result that I can have, what am I waiting for, right? So, very inspiring day, and a really fun time. And she was so exhausted afterwards, she couldn't even see straight. She got in the car and immediately fell asleep. Anyway, that's where I am today, folks. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I will be back at you soon. I'll see you tomorrow.